we're almost becoming normal again. I mean, new normal.
I
I guess that's new
know.
normal. I think it's like I don't like saying normal because it's like normal is like saying like it didn't happen and it happened.
Yeah,
You have to know
yeah.
that it happened. So
Yeah, we're getting back to like we're gonna be able to be welcome to Standby, everybody. By the way, everybody listening, and yeah, no, we're excited because eventually you and I will be in the same room again. We can feel it.
yes, I mean,
It's
well,
coming, isn't it, buddy?
it's yeah, it's hopefully it's gonna be in a nice, cool studio. We're working on that, so everybody
Yeah,
stay tuned with that. Yeah, because eventually we'll be doing our, having inviting the guests there, that the guests that we can get that live here, and
yeah,
obviously if we get like guests that are traveling or in another city, we'll do it this way as well. But we're
yeah.
gonna combine.
But it's just gonna be nice to not always have to worry about the delay with
Yes,
each other,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
especially like triangulating a conversation too.
Especially,
So
yeah, because
it'll be great.
sometimes it's like you're like, is this? Did they hear me? Or like, or you? Sometimes the
Yeah,
connection works great. Sometimes with me, like it goes in and out.
yeah.
Like sometimes the connection is great one time
And
and then
then
it doesn't. So I don't know.
yeah, no, it's and the first sign that's coming back to normal is that I actually went to an actual movie.
Okay,
I went to Universal. They've opened up Universal Studios like City Walk
like in the city walk.
area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I went and saw that horror movie, Chris Rock. I saw Chris Rock, one of my favorite
Wait.
comedians, performing.
Chris Rock was in a movie. Is in a
Chris
movie.
Rock,
I mean,
Chris.
obviously, I know he's in a movie, but like, which one?
Yeah, he's in the new like it's called Spiral, but it's like a Saw. It's like Saw. It's in the family of
Oh, got it. How was it?
yeah.
Good.
Um,
Okay,
it
that's
was.
it. Okay, all right. Let's
I,
like
you
forget it. Let's talk about it. I want to talk about the experience of
hey,
going to the
get
movie.
what you get what you want. Okay, let's just put it that way. And
I mean, that's fine.
I
It's like
wanted to see
I don't know
Chris
Chris
Rock.
Rock. I don't think he's listening to this right now. So it's like
No,
I think you just you can
no,
literally go like it
Chris
wasn't good.
Rock is awesome. It's not about Chris. Samuel L. Jackson plays his father.
Okay.
It's two great actors and a comedian, a great fantastic comedian who you wouldn't conceive of that. It's a natural step. I thought it was you get your entertainment value. Let's put it that way.
All
But I will
right.
say this: there's
I
no
feel like you
nothing.
want to be in the second in the sequel, and that's why you keep doing this. It's like, no, it's
Uh,
a great movie.
I didn't you anyway. But it's life is relatively normal. They made an announcement before the movie though, before the lights went down. They go, you must keep your masks on during the movie.
Which
So
I mean, did
I
people
looked at
do
Connor
that?
Smith. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I looked down each aisle and I was like, no, I don't see anybody who's
Was
gonna
it
keep their
packed? What was
mask
the
on.
capacity?
It was, I would say, it was probably about 30%.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't. Yeah, it
So did they
wasn't
make you?
packed or
Do they
anything
have
like that.
blocked seats like blocked off and stuff like that? Like,
I think maybe they just nothing was blocked off, but I think maybe they would only sell certain seats
oh,
so that to
got
make
it.
sure that, and then just insist that people sit in their assigned seats, and then and they say wear masks. And if outside the theater too, they wouldn't let us linger in our own area. There's
Yeah.
no seats, or so it was very bare
What about
bones.
popcorn and stuff? The
Popcorn was
popcorn
being
is
sold,
okay,
but bars weren't open. There's no bars open. There's even the bar in the cafe. So because I met with my
but you
friends
can't
early,
drink, but you can eat popcorn. What about like soda
yeah,
and stuff?
you can get soda. Yes.
Oh, you mean like actual drinking? Yeah.
I mean the actual bar. Yeah,
But
like
you
the
drink
bar.
beer when you go to see a movie?
Well, if you're meeting people at 7 o'clock for an 8:30 movie and you got an
Oh,
hour,
okay.
usually you have a couple of beers, you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
chat in the bar, and then you get your popcorn and go, yes, that would be a
Okay.
yes. And that's not happening now. And there's no, so there was no, and then all the bars at the City Walk too, it was like a 2 hour wait, so none of us could wait that long anyway. And
Wow.
their bars aren't open either, so they
Yeah.
only have certain tables. So yeah, so it
And
was a
did
bit.
you go by yourself or was this a date or what?
Okay, I keep saying friends. I've been saying with friends for the last couple, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I was on a date. Yeah,
Oh
I'll tell.
man, too bad we can talk about it. We have to talk about
I
it
was
later.
yeah, I'll tell you
Ah,
about it
that's
later. I'll
why
tell
I
you
was
about it
like,
because for now we have a very important interview to get to. A very important guest.
yes, very very excited. I mean, I was like when you told me, I was very excited because I'm a very huge fan of him. Because of he's been on the show Veep. He was a regular there. He's also been on the Goldbergs, and he's in a new show that just got renewed on HBO Max called Made for Love. So check it out.
Yeah,
And yeah, I was very very excited to have this guest. in the
Dan
podcast.
Bakkedahl, everybody, is joining us. So why waste any more time? Let's get to the.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was great talking
He,
to him. He had so much.
he
I
was
mean,
fantastic. I love
he
it.
had.
Even early on, can I just where early on he tells a story, and I love it when a guest tells a story and then says to us, guys, I've never told that to anybody before.
Yeah,
We're on a roll for that, so that was
that
really
is
fun. So
that is which is good. I think people trust us.
yeah,
So like that's great. And also he had like also like very cool stories about like working in the industry, then how did he became who he is, all his experiences. And I didn't know he traveled so much, which was so
yeah,
interesting to hear. Like that was such a break. And he gave us and so he gave us some great advice too on travel. So
yeah.
please check it out. We're not gonna waste any more time. So just,
Here we go.
make this episode. Bye,
Dan
Alan.
Bakkedahl, everybody. Hey, guess
Hey.
what? Here it is, Dan Bakkedahl, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good. It's fantastic to see you. Fantastic to see you.
Yeah,
Great
thank you for
spirit.
joining us. Just quick, are you
course.
based in LA or are you going?
Yeah, I live in Los Angeles.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
struck by how much Jay looks like one of the Gibbs. You look like you
Right?
could be in the Bee Gees, dude.
Yeah, I've heard that before, and I just got the haircut too.
Yeah,
I've
well,
never seen it before.
that's why he goes
right.
when he goes get a haircut. He gets the Bee Gees haircut, so that's probably
Yeah.
why.
Give me the Barry Gibb.
Give me
You
the
sure you
Gibb.
don't want to go with the Maurice? No, I don't want the Maurice.
Yeah, just give me the gift. I've got the vinyl collection as well. I admire your vinyl collection behind you there, buddy.
Oh, thank you.
Quite excellent.
I got some Bee Gees in there.
Yeah,
Nice.
I just walk into the shop with the Bee Gees album. I go, there, do it, save
That
me.
one.
I mean, that
Gotta
was a
beat
good. It was a good 7 or 8 inches I lost off my
Of hair.
Sorry. Terribly
hair.
sorry to hear that.
Are you talking about hair, right? Okay, go.
Yes.
All right, okay.
I definitely in quarantine hasn't been that bad. I haven't made those kind of decisions. So, but Dan, I feel like I miss you, buddy. It's great to see you again. But you've been on my television so often because I think is it the Heat that's on all the time on TNT this month? Like I think they bought the Heat this month. So that's on like every second night, and I happen to be channel flipping right when you're there causing shit. And so yeah, you're always on our screens. I assume you've still been busy, even in the time of quarantine.
Well, there was that 9 months where nobody did anything, nobody was allowed to work or anything, and then as soon as that was done, we went back to finish up Made for Love, which was the HBO Max show that I did that actually just got picked up for a second season. So thank you to anyone who's involved in that. Thank you. But yeah, we went back to finish that up, and I went back to do the Goldbergs because I do a recurring guest star on the Goldbergs. And so I went back and did both of those. Now I'm working on one of the American Crime Story shows, but I'm not allowed to say anything because,
of course, because it's always like
yeah, but they're based on real life, so any story points could just be looked up on Wikipedia anyway. But whatever, I'll do what they say.
Nice.
Right. Now, is that extra exciting for you to step because you're a comedic, you're the man comedically now to stretch your acting chops to do serious stuff. Do you enjoy doing that, stepping out of the comedy world and going?
Yeah, I think I've always tried to approach it as the same animal, no matter what it was, whether it was comedic or dramatic. I was always approaching it like, well, is the person pissed off? Well, then you're pissed. Whether it's comedy or drama, play it as angry as possible. And if it's a comedy, it's going to be funny, and if it's a drama, it's going to be dramatic.
Right.
But do you make an adjustment by the angriness of if it's a comedy or a drama, or do you just play the same?
No, I mean, like Veep is probably the most angry I've ever been on camera, and it's a comedy, and
it's
people
hilarious.
are like, that character is hilarious. I'm like, if you say so. I'm just letting out my anger in those moments.
Wow, that's awesome.
Because I'm excited to take a quick trip down memory lane because you were one of the first. I'm gonna say this is gonna be an oversimplification, but you, my friend, are one of the first Americans I met because I was basically fresh off the plane. I had come from Britain, fresh off the plane, and I took basically the taxi to the set of Legit, where you were starring with my good friend Jim Jeffries and DJ Qualls, and so that's how I met you. I was fresh off the plane. I was like, "How you doing?" You guys, that show and that experience right away. That was like a playground for you guys.
Yeah.
Like you guys were having so much. I couldn't believe what I had walked into. I thought it was going to be all serious. I had just flown all the way across the ocean. I was like, oh God, I don't think I should be on a TV like set right now, all serious and quiet, please, and action and all this. And I show up, and I swear to God, you guys were just, just farting around and fooling around and having a laugh. And then when the cameras were on, you were riffing. I don't know if you semi stayed on script and just crushing it.
Yeah.
With comedic moments
well,
on camera all the time.
Jim. It's Jim. That's why. I mean, I think we both have a real love for Jim, and to me, that was the first time I ever met him, was working on that show. So all I knew was, here's this guy who's in charge of the show. You better behave yourself. Next thing I know, he's calling me spoon face and flicking me in the balls. And I went, okay, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's the level we're working with. This is going to be just fine. I mean, I think that's going to be perfect when you get, you guys, because you all had serious chemistry. I couldn't believe what I got to watch.
Well, I mean, that's how he is. If you're in, you're in. And if you're out, you're not playing anyway. Like that's how Jim is. So if you're in the game, you're in. So I mean, we were made to feel welcome and part of the team immediately.
Yeah. Oh man, that's amazing. And of course, and then you came and worked on the Jim Jeffries show with us. So your resume is one to be totally admired, and we really appreciate you. Yeah, we really appreciate.
It's a resume full of Jim.
Yeah. To hang over with us. And so I mentioned just before we went on air, I said I realized myself I only learned about the Florida Man, right? How you guys all have these memes in America. I think the rest of the world knows about them now, but I've learned about the Florida Man since I moved here. And I did mention to you because I knew that you defined it before we came on air, because I actually said, it came out of my mouth. I said, now you're a Florida man. Do you consider yourself and then you quickly went, well, I'm from Florida.
I'm from Florida. But back in my drinking days, I was certainly a Florida man. Florida man arrested for, I'll tell you this quick story. We were at a place called Margarita y Amigas in Stuart, Florida, which is my hometown.
Where's Stuart? Is that close to
It's like north of Palm Beach.
Okay.
Yeah, Martin County. And I got lit. And the manager was kind of tired of our noise, and I went, pardon me, sir. And I placed my ass on his leg, and I went, and I cut a fart right on his leg, and he went, that's it! And he called the cops. And the cops showed up, and I almost got arrested. I got a citation because I talked my way out of it by saying, come on, I farted on the guy. But that was a Florida man arrested for farting on Margarita y Amiga's manager.
That's hilarious. It's funny that he's like, that was his last straw. He's like, all right, okay, no farting on the management. It says on the sign right here.
It is pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
When you think about it. I mean, like, it's not my proudest moment. This is the first time I've ever said this in public, so thanks for dragging that out. But it is probably my most.
But you were young, right? You were like,
young, I was in my early 30s.
Okay.
That's a perfect excuse. Yes, I was young. I was younger then. I mean, we're automatically younger then, but
yep.
Sure, let's use that as an excuse. I mean, hey, at the start of this podcast, we were younger.
We were all younger when we met.
Yeah. But it works. I mean, so that's really exciting because being in Florida for that amount of time, and then I am aware that then you made the move to Chicago. So that's how much I know about your early career. I'm not sure if Florida influenced you as much as obviously going to Chicago, and starting doing improv there, right? That's your big, like, that's your greatest influence in the comedy influence, is it when you're moving to Chicago?
For sure. Because I think I went to Florida State, and I loved it. I had a great time, but really I was there to watch football and drink. and
Yeah.
eat
Right.
mushroom. There were a
And
lot of
part of
mushrooms that grew in
manager.
the fields there, and that was
Right.
kind of what I was all about,
Yeah. And hang out,
But
hang
when I
out with
But you were
other
doing
Florida
mushrooms
men.
back then, so man, you're like with the pioneers because now it's like
yeah,
been popular. So like
we were
you
like
knew it back then.
yeah, we were mushroom pioneers. But and then when I got to Chicago and I found the Improv Olympic, which later became the IO and is now defunct, and the Second City, I kind of found my crowd. I found the group that I could fit in with improvisers. Just kind of worked. It worked for me because it was that marriage of theater with comedy with right now. And I was terrified of stand up. So that's the reason I never even tried. And I'm glad I didn't really put any effort into stand up because I think I would have failed and perhaps gone home with my tail between my legs and maybe I wouldn't be where I am. But with improv, I found out real quick that all you had to do is kind of be real in the moment and people would appreciate it.
Hmm. That's funny. I had that different. I started with improv and moved to LA to do improv at the Groundlings, and I didn't find that like group of people. Like I think everybody,
Yeah.
and for me, then that's what led me to do stand up because then I was like, because I think if I would have find that group of people, I would have stayed doing improv and not stand up. So
I
it was a
think
little
that's the
different.
Chicago attitude too,
Mm,
though, is that it's a pub mentality. It's we all go to the club together, we watch each other's show. Maybe this person
mm,
backs out and they don't show up, I get to sit in or something. And then afterwards we're all going out for beers.
uh,
So there was a very pub mentality in Chicago. So there was a real, very blue collar city. And I love it. I think it's my favorite city in the U.S. for sure. And I would have stayed forever if it weren't for the vision of bigger and better things, show business wise.
Right. Okay. So there is, you do start to see a bit of a ceiling in Chicago because I mean it's such a improv hub that I'm like,
Yeah.
what is like you hear so much about all like other than New York. I mean, it's a stronger improv hub than L.A. even, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it was before the pandemic, yes. And then once the pandemic came along, things kind of fell apart. The IO shuttered up for good, but due to other issues. But it happened during the pandemic, and now that's gone, and that'll probably lead to a serious hemorrhaging of bodies. But
Right.
it's a thing where you can only go so far with that, and then you can do a guest spot on whatever 2 TV shows are shooting there, and you can do whatever movies are going to be there, but you're not going to get the big roles. I mean, very few people have been able to stay there and carve out a television and film career while staying based in Chicago. It's just not.
Right.
It's a little more Herculean. Plus, I got the Daily Show, which took me out of Chicago, took me to New York. So who knows? I might still be there if it hadn't been for the Daily Show.
so the Daily Show
Right.
was the big gig that you got that made you move then to New York.
Yeah, they came through and they auditioned a bunch of people they auditioned a lot of the local stand-ups, a lot of the local comics, and a lot of the local improvisers and sketch comedians and actors at the different theaters. And I got put in one of those barrels, and
Right on.
I don't know, they picked me. They didn't like me once I got there, but they picked me.
But that happens, doesn't it?
That seems to be the
It's
story of
because
my life.
you were sticking out of the barrel. You were so big. You were sticking out of the
Yeah,
barrel. They're
that's
like,
what it
let's
was.
take
That's
that
what it
one. Then they went, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. Oh, shit. God.
Before we carry on with that, I'm just curious. One other thing is Francisco and I we love to talk about like the decisions that we made earlier in our careers and stuff. And like as Francisco said, moving here for improv, but then going into stand up, individually. I moved to Britain on my own. When you did make the move and you knew you wanted to go into improv and stuff, were you doing it with any friends or anything, or did you just kind of go, no, I'm just going to go do this because either I'm going to fail on my own in front of strangers, or did you go with friends? Like, we're going to form a troupe and we're going to.
No, I went by myself. I mean, I moved to Chicago with a girlfriend, and she dumped me 4 months after we got there.
Wow.
And so I didn't read.
Dude,
The only people I knew were her friends.
That happened
Good.
exactly to me. Like I moved here, and then my girlfriend dumped me like for, and I never
Oh,
been depressed in my
Yeah.
life, and I feel I remember being in a studio apartment. It was like a Saturday. It was all dark,
yes.
just sleeping like this, and I'm like, what is going on? I used to promote parties in DC, and I was like, what is this? It
What
was
have I
so
done?
depressed. And the
Yeah.
thing was, like, I felt it was like I feel like it was because she surprised. I was gonna break up with her in my plan. I was like, oh, and then
Ah,
she
oh,
jumped the gun, and I
she
was like,
beat you to
Uh,
it, buddy.
yeah.
Oh man, she
no,
beat you to it.
I came with her, and when she dumped me, that was it. All of her friends went with her, and I had nobody.
Oh,
But I was doing theater, and I was doing a play at the time with Nick Offerman and
mm,
a whole bunch of other great Chicago people. But Nick, of course, people know. And we were doing this great play called the Kentucky Cycle, and it was a 2-night play. It was 7 hours long, and I made a bunch of friends in that cast, real friends. And a couple of them were like, "Why aren't you doing improv? You should be doing improv because that's Chicago, right?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I came here for that, but I'm kind of afraid to do it." And they were like, "Oh, just go do it already." So I went and I started doing it. And next thing I knew, I was kind of like rising through the ranks pretty quickly.
nice.
Oh,
It's
it's
funny
very
how
cool.
people like how sometimes we need that little push. I always feel like that's
Oh,
like
yeah.
life telling you, like, hey, do this, and like we don't realize
Oh,
until
yeah.
somebody tell us, and it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
why not, So that's
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
cool thing to feel. I'm a very big believer on that, so I like hearing those things because it's always somebody telling you like, you're like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll do it, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I'm good at this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if, I think it also can coincide with having our hearts broken because sometimes we feel there's nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
Fuck it,
Well, yeah,
fuck
it
it.
was
My
like,
heart's broken. I can die in front of these people. I don't mind.
if someone had told me to go down to the stockyards, I'd have been like, okay, I'll go,
Yeah,
I'll
let's
go
do it.
cut cows open. I don't, whatever. You got it. Just give me a direction. I'm in.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
lucky you didn't have your own friends with butchers or something like, but
Right.
like,
Exactly.
hey, I got a couple of cows. Like, all right, that's great. So then you moved to New York, and then New York. How long were you there in New York?
I was just there for 2 years. I had a 2-year contract with the Daily Show, and it just almost immediately out of the bag, it was like, this isn't a good fit. I'm not political. I had no guts to write anything back then. I
Mm,
pretty much the same thing, like I said about stand up, was like the reason I never really tried it. Well, the reason I had never tried it, period, full stop, was because I thought, but it's too hard. Look at how it makes me laugh. I can't possibly do that, so I'm not going to try. And I had the same approach to sketch comedy, and I had the same approach to the Daily Show. Rob Corddry is so funny because he's writing his own stuff. Stephen Colbert was so funny because he was writing his own stuff. I'm not going to be able to do that, so I'm not going to try. And
mm.
that, ultimately, it took me 10 years after the job was over to realize, oh, that's what happened. But that is what happened.
That you just didn't, you were just kind of like afraid
I was terrified.
of writing. Oh, but it's funny
I was
because
even,
it's like I feel like I don't know, as a stand up, that's the first thing that I ever did, and like then I look at people like you, and I go like, that is so like so hard to me, doing, like to get to be that person and in a scene and not break character and be there and kind of like, because as a comic your first thing is to like call out the
yeah,
awkwardness, so when you're on
yeah,
audition
right.
and you see the person just like looking at their phone, and I'm like, hey, what the fuck are you
Yeah.
looking I'm doing an audition in here,
And
like what.
I've done that too. I had a guy once. I don't know. It was like some space show or something, and I showed up like, all right, I'll wear a tracksuit because in the future everyone's wearing an outfit, right? And I thought I'll make a. I'm a bald headed guy in a tracksuit. They won't forget me. And this guy over here is like this, and I just did like this, boom, on the floor with my foot, and I went, hey. And he looked at me, and I went, all right, man, let's do this, right? And I don't remember who it was. For all I know, it could have been,
And that
I
was
don't know what.
Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, exactly. It could have been Spielberg. It doesn't. And I just
Yeah.
basically was like, I am not going to come in here all prepared and dressed in my best tracksuit and have you fall asleep on me. Like, so I've done it too.
I have a
Uh,
feeling that's happened to you a few times because I think even the way you met Jim
Yeah.
auditioning for legit. I mean, maybe I'll leave it to you to relay
No,
that story.
they told us when we were going to audition for Legit, they said, now there's going to be some improv in the audition, so don't be afraid of that. And I said, I'm not.
That's what I do.
I improvised for drunk Cubs fans when the best they could get was like Kerry Wood throwing strikeouts and Sammy Sosa eating whatever it was he was eating to hit all those home runs. That was the highlight. So like I'm good. I'm not afraid of a tough crowd. But I didn't think that. I thought like Jim's going to improvise with me, and I come in and he goes, "Hey, tonight." And he didn't look up at me, and I went, "Oh shit, this guy." That's okay. Sometimes you don't have the job when you walk in because they look at you and they go, "Oh, this." And then he did the scene with me, looking at his script the whole time. And when I was done, he was like, he and Peter O'Fallon, the showrunner, were like, "All right, that was great, thanks." And I left, and I was like, "These fucking guys, he never even fucking looks at me. He doesn't. They tell me they're going to improvise, and he never takes his eyes off the script. Fuck this Australian guy, man. This is bullshit." I was furious. I walked out to my car. I had a parking ticket.
Oh,
and I was like, "Oh!" And then I got a call like 2 days later. "Hey, you booked it."
Wow.
And I thought, how is that possible? The guy didn't even look at me. And when I met Jim and told him that, he's like, "Mate, because I've been improvising with other people, and it was throwing them. And so I just decided from then on I wasn't going to improvise in the audition. I was just going to read it exactly as it was on the page." And I mean, JJ, and Francisco, I don't know how well you know Jim, but like that's the thing. Like the image of Jim is like, oh, this tough fucking Australian guy. But ultimately, there's a really, really sweet person in there, and that was him going, "I don't want to mess up your opportunity. So I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to look at the thing." And I realized, oh man. Then he bought me lunch. So we're even.
Because this is one of those, I don't know if it's a game of telephone or the story develops over time. Because you know the way this story will go is that you come back into the room and you go, "Hey, you know what else? Fuck you! I got a parking ticket, you motherfucker." But that's not something that happened.
No, what happened was they brought me back for a callback. And when I got back for the callback, I said, "Well, I hope this goes better than last time because I got a parking ticket last time I was here." Right?
That's funny.
So that is true. It's just that,
It's even funnier. It's even funnier if you compact it into the one visit, the one audition. And that is very funny. I think that's when he fell in love with you, right there. He probably was like, "Oh, look,
probably." That's the beauty of Jim. Weird shit happens to him. He puts it all together, and the next thing you know, Neil Diamond is cockfighting Anthony Hopkins in a disco in 1978.
That is so. It's so funny how those things like that, like when you think something is like, well, this could have gone the worst. They hate me, and then all of a sudden you get this stuff, and it's kind of like it shows you how what weird this industry is and this business is. That like you never know. I mean, you could do the things, and you're like, "This is great." And they're like nothing, and then the ones that you're like, "Well, that was fucked up," and then you get it. It's like you have no idea.
I've had all versions, man. I've had all versions. The one where you're like, "I nailed it," and you get it. "I nailed it. I don't get it. I nailed it," and I get a complaint from the casting director that I did something inappropriate or something. You go, "I thought I nailed that thing." So, and I've had ones where I went in an audition and it said 60-year-old man pops. And I'm like, "Why am I even here?" And the director says, "You're probably wondering why you're here." And I say, "Yeah." And he goes, "Don't worry about it. The part's already yours." And I'm like, "I haven't even read." Yeah.
Wait, and then you're going like, "Wait, so do I look like a 60-year-old man?" It's like, what are you talking about, man?
What kind of typecasting is this? Yeah, this is where the town that I've learned that saying of "kill your babies." I've learned to let them go as well because of that. Because same thing on the Jim Jeffries show. When I used to present my writing on the Jim Jeffries show, I would keep all my discards. I would keep the things that I thought were garbage. And several times with the head writer, I'd be like, "Yeah, those back 4 pages are just the garbage ones." And he'd be like, "Oh, really?" And then boom, those are the ones that he likes the most. So you never know how it's being perceived by other people when you're like, "Oh yeah, no, I know what's gold and what's not." No, we don't.
And I don't want to make it all about this, but like that's a point that I try to remind. Like I'll meet young actors or young writers or something, and they'll be like, "You have any advice?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you never know what they're thinking, so just do it for you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
your first draft is just for you, they say, and it's like every draft is just for me until they start paying me and giving me notes.
Yeah.
It's just for me. Because
Yeah.
if you're not paying me, why am I going to do it your way? I would not be a good staff writer, I don't think, for somebody else's vision, because I'd be writing it the way I want it, and then I'd say, now give me your notes, and then I'll do what you want. But first, I'm going to write it my way. And that's kind of the way I try to do my career too. Is like I don't turn hardly anything down, but there's been a couple of times I have, because I looked at the person I would be working with, and I said, they're not fun. They're not having a good time. And if I don't get to have a good time, man, I'm out. I have no interest in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
really-
great advice.
Yeah, really good advice. Like, yeah, never assume that they feel the exact same way that you do about whatever we're churning out.
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
I wanted to go back. I wanted to quickly go back, not go back, but like, because this is like we talk about travel and stuff like that, and you know, you obviously travel, have traveled a lot also because of you have. So is that a thing that I'm assuming that you travel a lot of obviously because of your jobs. You know, all the jobs that you get, that you go from location to location. But so two questions, like, have you how is that in terms of the job travels, and like, and where have you gone? Is it a location that you have loved, or and also if by yourself, if you have traveled by yourself, like when you were younger, you know, like if there's anywhere that you're like, oh man, this is the place that I love.
Seems like every job I get winds up having a travel element to it. So since being an actor, my first job was as a repertory theater company, and we left Rockport, Texas, which is down by Corpus Christi, and we drove all the way up to Maine, all the way out to Oregon, all the way down to San Diego, all the way down to Miami, and everything in between for 10 months. Got in a van with a suitcase and came back 10 months later.
Wow.
So there's that kind of travel. And then in Chicago, I worked for the Second City Touring Company. We went everywhere. We did USO tours to Kosovo and Bahrain. And then we did a Far East Asian tour. We went, I'm looking at the map, Japan, Hong Kong, or we went to Tokyo, Hong Kong, Bangkok, and Singapore. And that was like a three-week tour. You know, and some of these, like right after 9/11, I did what they called a ski tour for the Second City, which is you fly out to Denver and then you start driving north through all the ski towns. Then you turn around and drive south through all the ski towns until you get to El Paso. So tons of travel. I think my favorite place I traveled though was I went to Cape Town for a movie with Johnny Knoxville, and I was the only one there who, I don't get loaded anymore, and I'm the only one there who doesn't get loaded. And I'm in Cape Town, which is almost like Vegas in New Orleans in a different country.
Oh, right.
You know, like it's a party town, and so I was alone a lot, and so I saw that city and that countryside by myself for the most part, and I found out that I can do that, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
Because I was so accustomed to traveling with an ensemble, both in that repertory theater and with the Second City, that, and also with the Daily Show. Come to think of it, we traveled a ton as correspondents. You'd fly out, but you'd fly out with a field producer, so you'd be joined at the hip with someone that's writing and producing the piece with you. But on this film, I was alone 90% of the time, and I'd be like, "Well, I'm going to climb that hill today."
Oh wow!
And people, and they go, "Sir, it's not safe to go up there by yourself." And I was like, "Well, I don't have a fucking option, Mark. You know,
I'm not
unless you want to come with me."
I'm not drinking, man. So give me this, bro. No, that's very stand up. I mean, that's like literally that's like what we do as stand ups. We're by yourself, and you're like, well, I guess I'll go by myself and, you know, climb this thing, and then, you know, so it's very that's a very stand up way of traveling.
Because
everyone's
drinking,
like, "Oh, you got it."
I was just gonna say, drinking kills a lot of time. It's a big void to fill once you go.
Dude,
that used to occupy so much time. That was
I was
my
there.
day.
I was in Cape Town 6 weeks, and I worked 12 days.
Oh, so that's
I had on average 5 days off.
Wow.
Where I was like, you can only see so many movies in Afrikaans, you know, before you go like, I can't do it.
That happened to me like in a very small scale when my first cruise that I did, you know, for stand up, and like, I only had like one show, and then the rest I was like, and there, you know, and I watched every season of the Love Boat because that's the only channel that they had. And I'm calling my manager. I'm going like, what is? I feel like he's like, dude, you're having a mental breakdown. I was like, yes, there's nothing to do. I got my loan. I
Yeah.
am like, what the fuck? It's like,
Yeah, and the Love Boat as well. There's a cocktail. What's his? I don't
Oh,
remember his
dude,
name.
I
But
watch
he's
everything.
mixing cocktails, and you're trying to stay sober.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I had the model down path. Now I'm pitching shows that are like love. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
how about, nah,
How about
like,
It's
Love Boat
Love
when
Boat.
it's on a bus?
but in the desert, on a bus, and the driver is Jesus. This is gonna be great.
It's gonna be a hit.
Oh wow,
That's
so you
fantastic.
did travel a lot. Wow. And then
Yeah.
it's and then well, besides when you visit Cape Town and went all over, any hobbies or things that you also that when you're on the road, either in set or something, but is there
Yeah.
something that you like to do, like go to a favorite coffee place or a favorite restaurant or
Yeah,
something
like
like
something
that?
on top of going for these hikes and stuff like that. Like, are you a
Yeah,
sportsman
like
or anything like that?
yeah, like in Cape Town, for instance, I said like you got to get us into a rugby match. I want to
Yeah.
go see a live rugby match in a place where it actually matters, where people in a full stadium. And I went and saw a rugby match. I go to every record store I can find. I don't really
Mm.
buy stuff because it sucks to
To
try to
carry.
travel back with them. But
Yeah.
I love to go in
Right.
and look. Bookstores too.
Yeah.
But I just love walking around wherever I am if it's safe. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Right.
It's not always safe. You
No.
find out when you're. I've done 3 different movies in
Yeah.
New Orleans, and each time I was there for anywhere from 3 weeks to 2 months, and you run out of safe places to walk around, and eventually you're like, I'm going down this alley. I don't care what they say. I'm bored, and I got to find something to do, man. But live music too, man. Live music takes up a
Yeah.
lot of time. If you got the nights off, I like to go see a local music
That's
scene,
nice.
whatever they've got.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's something that it'd be cool too. But for us comics, like most of the times, those when we're performing, so it's like either
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it has to be like a late night show or something. Like Vegas, you
Yeah.
can do a little bit when you're in Vegas. You do your spot,
New
and then you kind
Orleans.
of like, or New Orleans, yeah, places
Yeah.
like that.
You feel very lucky when you're performing at a stand-up club that has a music venue or a cool kind of dive bar like near it or in the
Yeah.
same strip mall. That seems like a treat. I mean, so often, especially here in North America, I find stand-up comedy clubs are in strip malls in the middle of nowhere, and there's not even like they're the bar, and they're gonna close after.
Yeah.
So you're kind of isolated.
Yeah.
So it's an absolute treat if you find out, oh, there's a dive bar down the road and there's a band playing. Perfect.
Yeah.
5-minute walk.
And I wanted to ask, when you travel, do you have any superstitious items or sentimental items that you bring with you?
Are you a superstitious man? I always like to guess.
Yeah,
well.
JJ always likes to guess.
I'm gonna guess no. I don't know why, but I feel like you're not a superstitious man. But
I'm not superstitious about certain things. What I do is I touch the plane as I get on every single time. I touch the outside. Most
like
of
the
the
Rudy, like Rudy when he like Notre
Yeah.
Dame, like hitting the
like,
ball.
fly like a fucking champion today. But really, I think it's the first time that I ever did it. I was like, I think I was stoned to the bone, and I was getting on, and I was like, man, this thing's gonna be 30,000 feet in the air pretty soon, man. And I just touched it. Wow! And then it just kind of became a thing. Like that plane didn't crash, so I'm gonna do that every time.
Yeah, nice.
But otherwise, no. I mean, I usually carry like these headphones and a pair of AirPods and an iPad and a laptop. Like I carry as much entertainment as I possibly can. A book, which I never read on the plane.
Yeah.
I open it, I fall asleep, and that's the end of it. But I can't sleep on planes. Even when I drank, I couldn't sleep on planes. I just cannot.
What about with the edibles now and stuff like that? Like that doesn't.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I suppose that would probably work, but then I'd also probably be like, "Let me in!" at the cockpit. Like, you got to hear what I was thinking about. Man.
Well, I don't know which edibles you're doing. I mean, I got ones that are very.
That's the point. I think if I did, it would go bad. It would go from edibles to whatever whiskey to.
Oh god. I started very late in the edibles game, so that's why I'm like very excited about it, because I started just doing it like 5 years ago. So I'm like, oh yeah, it's great, bro. You just could fall asleep. You eat a bunch of pretzels, and
No. All I
but,
ever did was smoke it, and I used to have to travel with it in my pants, in my underwear band,
yeah.
because I was like, no one's going to pat down your actual cock and balls, so you just hang it over the lip of your underwear band. And nowadays, they don't even give a shit.
Yeah, now it's like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like now it's like it
Yeah.
doesn't. Now it's ever. You can just buy it anywhere.
Well,
Anyways,
now
now.
you're
Right.
buying these. I buy edible candies, and they can just go in a bag of candy. It looks like you just bought it at the store. So as long as you know that the gummy bears are the marijuana, and then all the other ones,
Yeah.
all the other types, jelly babies and stuff, are not, then you know. But it's you can still have too many at 20,000 feet.
Yes, I think so.
Start sweating out. But I feel that way too. I've never felt comfortable enough to sleep on a plane, even if I'm in first class or anything like that. I just think even in luxury, if you're over 6'1", it's just a pain in the ass.
Last time I flew international for a job, they flew us first class, and I said to the lady, I said, "I'm sorry, excuse me, do you have any longer beds?" And she said, "Sir, this is the same bed everyone has." And I was like, "I'm not going to sleep." And she kind of was like, "Well, that sounds like your problem." And I said, "Okay." And then it was like, ding, ding, every 40 minutes. Like, "You got any more of those cookies or a magazine or something?" Like a 16-hour flight. I'm going out of my mind.
Oh man.
Yeah. Did you guys hear this? This was on the news this weekend. Actually, they haven't readjusted the airlines what they think the weight of a human man and a human woman is since like the 60s for flying. So they have. So I don't know if you guys know this. So this just happened on the weekend. They pointed out that like a human man is listed at like 190, and a human woman is like 160, and they've been using that math since the 60s. They haven't adjusted it to all these 240 pound, 250 pound human beings.
Fuck,
that are
dude,
getting on
more than
planes
that.
now.
Shit, I'm
Yeah.
220,
Yeah, exactly.
and I don't even look fat.
I mean, have you seen?
I stood up.
Have you seen a Spirit flight? That's like, I think the average is like the Spirit is 220 in that is all those flights.
Hear it.
The Spirit. I
like
mean,
God.
I don't think. I think I don't know if I flew, but like I don't. I mean, because to me that's always it's such a pyramid scheme. It's kind of like, yeah, the ticket is $30, and then as you get there, it's like, well, if you want to sit, that's $20. If you want to
standing room,
yeah. If you want a seat build, that's $100. It's like what the So it's like they keep adding the stuff. So I don't.
I know. I end up going like with it's Los Angeles in the middle of summer, but I got my winter because I'm flying to New York, and then I got a winter jacket. I got all my layers of clothes for the weekend, so that I can save the $15. I'll tell you how I saw it because it was a story about Dave Bautista, wrestler turned actor.
Right,
yeah.
And he's a big 340-pound man or whatever, and so I think they were asking him because he buys 2 seats now. He buys 2 first class seats to travel, which must never be not weird because he's sitting next to an empty seat. So I'm sure tons of people are like, "Can I just sit there?" And you have to go, "No, I bought it. I bought it for me.
That's mine."
Yeah.
That's for this half of me. That's for this other half of me right here.
That's $15,000.
Yeah.
On my right side.
Yeah.
I also wanted to kind of go back to when you were in Florida growing up and talk about also like family holidays, family travels that you ever did. Like any great memories that you have with your family traveling.
I'm part of a Brady Bunch family. There was 3 of us, and then there was 4. My dad had 4 kids, my stepdad, and we got together, and there were 7 of us. So,
that's cool.
And then we went up to Minnesota every single summer. So every summer there was a family caravan with the pot smoking high school age kids in one car driving, and then mom and dad in the other car with the 3 of us that were too young to do that, and they'd be driving by us like, "Hey man, cool, man.
Love you, brother.
Love you, man." And then we'd meet them at the rest stop. But my parents had a calendar that they made up. We used to go to a place called Kettle Falls, which is in International Falls, Minnesota, which is Frostbite Falls from Rocky and Bullwinkle fame.
And now your parents were from Minnesota, were they?
Yeah. And I was born in Minnesota, and all my siblings were born in Minnesota, come to think of it. So we're all Minnesota people, but we moved to Florida. So we're part of the problem, really, more than anything else. Florida would just be a hot, sweaty place with a few desperate rednecks, but instead it's loaded with people because everyone wants to get away from the cold. And we would drive all the way up there, and I would go and my mom and dad had a calendar, 2 months worth of calendar, and it was Danny in Rochester, Tom in Mound, Jen, like all of our names listed and where we were going to be, what dates and what
Oh
phone number.
wow.
Like craziness, man. But we went on a actually one trip that stands out. We went on a cruise to Alaska when I was like, before cruises were a thing. There was like 2 cruise lines, Sitmar and then whatever the cruise line was that was SS
Princess?
Norway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but before Princess even came
Oh.
along, it was before Love Boat days. Well, I mean,
That's the
Princess
one,
might
I
have been
think.
there, but I hadn't heard of it. But and we went to Alaska, so we flew out to San Francisco, the whole family on a plane together, raising fucking hell on the plane, bunch of kids. Then we stayed in a hotel for 4 days, and then we got on this cruise and went up there. Everybody knew us on the cruise because the older kids were getting in trouble drinking and carousing, and the younger kids were getting in trouble because we're youngest of 7, so we're you know, fucking what? It's like Shameless, the movie, the TV show.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Except on a, there you go. There's your new pitch.
There it is.
It's
That's the
Love
pitch.
Boat meets Shameless.
There it is.
With a
We got
Brady
it.
Bunch
That's the
family.
trip. Yeah, with a Brady Bunch family.
We got it, everybody.
Yeah, and one alien wearing a tracksuit.
Yeah,
That's-
exactly.
that gets pissed when people don't sleep on them.
Oh man, he gets mad if they fall asleep on him.
Oh wow, that's that yeah, because especially a cruise is like it is like for kids or for like older people. It's such a I mean it's like that's why older they like it because it's like everything's there. You don't have to walk. I mean like you literally go there and eat every time. So like for a kid, I mean I that's one of the things I remember. I was like when I was on those cruises, I was like yeah, if I was like a little kid, I would have loved this. You know what I mean? You're like. Because your parents obviously like, where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna jump off the boat? It's like, yeah, go whatever. I don't care. I'll sit here.
Yeah.
So then you can run around and
See you at
do
dinner. There's only one place to go for dinner. Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom. Dinner time. But my brother, they lost my brother's luggage. That's the best part of the story is they
Oh.
lost my brother's luggage. And then there's those dinners where you have to dress a certain way.
Yeah.
Like you have to be semi-formal. Well, all he had was the T-shirt and jeans he got on the ship in. So he had to borrow clothes from, I don't remember if he borrowed from my sisters or not, but he certainly borrowed from the porters and the bellman, the employees on the ship.
Oh, that's
Because they were like, well, we're so sorry that the airline lost your clothes.
Yeah.
That like in the big family photo and the big fancy dinner, he's wearing a vest.
Oh, wow.
That's the same as the vest that the waiters are wearing and a shirt with his little sneakers.
Ah, that's
Oh
so
man, it
funny.
was good stuff.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
perfect
funny.
perfect for your siblings to witness that. And then, so those experiences from when you were younger, we're dying to know how they influence, because now that you're a family man yourself, how do they influence how you, because, okay, here, like both of us, we don't have kids or anything yet, Francisco and I, but when we travel on the road to do shows and stuff, I think we often come back. We don't want to go on a holiday. We don't want to go on another trip. We actually want to be a staycation, I guess, kind of thing, which you probably can't do when you're a young dad and stuff. So how do you influence, you know, your family travel decisions now?
Well, I think, like I said, my parents had that calendar with everything planned out. Fuck that. I try to go with like,
there we go.
How do I know how this 8-year-old? The last big trip we took was in Canada. We flew into Calgary and drove over to Vancouver and stopped all along the way at different beautiful towns and everything.
That's
right?
really pretty. That's a very pretty drive.
Gorgeous and summertime, right? So
through the Rockies.
But I was like, and I was like, well, we'll stop here, but I don't know anything else. You know, that's all I know. We're going to stop at this town and stay in this place, but that's all I know. I don't care if we get in at 10 o'clock at night or 4 in the morning or when. It doesn't matter to me. So I try to be a lot more loose with it. And I also try to, like, I don't go for me. I'm going for the kids. You know, my opportunity to travel was before I had kids, and it'll come after my kids go to college or whatever they wind up doing. Right. Yeah. So my focus on those trips is always on the kids. I don't think my parents were, you know, in the 70s and 80s, parents weren't necessarily going like, well, now what are the kids doing? Like, fuck 'em. They got, you know.
Yeah. You're coming with us, and that's it. Like, we're going to Vegas, and we're gonna gamble the whole week, and that's what we're gonna do. So chill. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, I know, obviously, I know all the ins and outs of like going through security and stuff. So it's frustrating going through with somebody. Like, you guys travel so much, you probably know more about it than I do, but I know enough to know, like, ahead of time, like, plastic bag, laptop, iPad, shoes,
Yeah.
if I'm not paying for clear or whatever the
Yeah.
equivalent is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with
Yeah.
them, they're like, well, wait now, does he have to take his hat off? I said, go, just go.
Yeah.
Because I know the guy behind me is going,
It's gone.
look,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
family.
Come on, we
driving
were
me-"
ready. Come on, maybe yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's always like a business guy who travels, like George Clooney in that movie where he
Yep.
travels like every day, and he's going like, "Come
Yeah.
on, I got this," and you're like, you could feel his stare going like, "I'm like, bro, it's like it's his first time traveling. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Yeah.
These aren't
No.
my kids cute. No, get them out of my way.
Yeah, I don't know your kid's not cute. I'm 20,000 miles from home.
Yeah,
Man, and that's is there like a vacation that you're planning now after because of all this after pandemic with that you
No.
want to go or
yeah. I
We don't
want
have
to.
any.
Can I just tell
Go
you,
ahead.
buddy? Yeah, my heart did break a little bit because you're the first guest that we've had since. Well, I mean, we're 20 something episodes in, so we haven't been going long anyway. We're only a couple months in, but you asked, you were like, can we do it? Are we doing it in person? And I so wish the answer was yes. It just brought me to this crushing blow of reality of like, yeah, we have been doing these studio interviews for a while now.
So close.
I can't wait. Yeah, I know, we're so close. And then so it was a little bit heartbreaking to go, yeah, no, we're doing it over Zoom. We would love
fine.
it.
Look, I mean, the beauty of this thing has been that we found out, holy shit, we can do this. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if you guys
Yeah.
did any shows during the pandemic
Oh
like
yeah.
this, but comics could do stand-up shows on Zoom. Well, then I think just about anybody can do what they need to do because that feedback from the audience is so crucial. I can't imagine how difficult that must be.
Oh,
But-
it was bad.
And Jay, the only reason I asked was I thought maybe, you never know. I did do one with my friend
would've been
Joe
awesome.
for the Second City, and they had a big plastic thing in between. We had to get tested beforehand. We can't, like all that kind of shit.
Yeah, well, we would have just trusted you. We don't have all that.
Vaccinated.
Like, are you vaccinated? Yeah, we're all vaccinated.
Yeah.
So it's like, all
Yeah,
right, cool.
so-
But
We're all vaccinated. So
yeah,
it's just
hopefully-
a matter of time now. But it was exciting because you're the first person to ask, which made me go, "Oh yeah, we're almost
That's how
there."
close we're so
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's gonna be.
I also wanted to go to because you travel so much nationally and internationally, especially internationally. Is there any? I wanted to ask: is there any customs or traditions that you liked when being outside of the country that you'd be like, oh, this would be a cool thing that if that would I bring back to America that Americans would do or something like that.
Yeah, we went to Saudi Arabia for a USO tour. And the women in our group, none of us were married, so they had to travel in a different vehicle, and they had to wear the head coverings and everything. That'd be pretty cool. Bring that back. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? But we could do that.
Can you imagine that being taken out of context right now?
No, because I mean that's the thing. That's the thing. We can definitely cut this and then put it.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'd be great. This is what
goes viral.
Florida man canceled.
Yeah, Florida man wants to go back to the 50s. It's like what?
Yeah, well, the whole fucking state of Florida wants to go back to the 50s. But the thing about that was that, of course, just like with female comics, right? They fucking were furious. The women in our group were furious because they were like, I have to cover my fucking, I'm going to be in a Jeep. I'm going to be in a vehicle. And they were like, yeah, but you don't mess around. It's Saudi Arabia. You don't want to mess around. So these, fuck, man, it's terrible because they're very progressive. They're very, and this was 2001. This was early 2001. Wow. So pre 9/11. And so obviously they were pissed and we were joking, making fun of them and stuff. But at the same time, sympathy for them because we all traveled together. Yeah. But no, I wouldn't want to bring that tradition back. I will say this. I thought the coffee in South Africa was the best coffee I've ever had. And I know everyone's like, oh, their wine is great. I was like, man, their coffee was great.
Really? Wow. Well, because you weren't drinking. You were drinking coffee and traveling, hiking 9,000 feet. So yeah.
You were just getting your taste buds back. So
that's what it was.
What is this elixir? That's coffee, sir. You're just tasting it for the first time in 15 years.
Joking.
Missing out on this.
But you know what I like? You know what I liked in Berlin? their train system is
Uh,
honor. It's honor system. It's like,
oh,
yes, you have to pay
Ah,
for the train, and I was like, oh, okay, where do I pay? You pay at that box. Is there anyone paying attention to the box? No. And I'm like, how's that working out for you? And they're like, great, we have the cleanest, safest trains in the world. And I thought, I wish we did that here, but we'd fucking screw it up. You know we would.
nah,
It would go
yeah.
broke. It would go broke in 2 weeks.
Yeah, people
yeah,
will be jumping on. I mean, people do it in New York anyways. Jump over
Yeah.
the turn thing, you know. So it's like, yeah,
yeah. You can get away with it in parts of London. Well, it used to be paper tickets in London. Paper tickets into the little
Yeah.
machine until I don't know 15 years ago when it changed to the same cards that we all use. But yeah, there's a lot of overground train systems, I think, through Europe and including in Britain, where I remember you can get on and off as long as you know which stops are the unmanned, like not the main city type stops kind
yeah.
of thing. But I would like to figure that out here. I was actually talking about the LA subway because I find the LA subway efficient, but it has a stigma. I've never lived anywhere in the world
Hmm.
where there's such a stigma
Yeah,
around getting
and
in that, and it's justified, isn't it?
yeah.
Because
Well, and that's
because
what I was gonna say back to. I think the honor system works in play. I think because, for example, in Venezuela, where I was born, the subway it's one of the like the it was one of the first subways in South America, and it still runs great. And I think people still maintained it because it's the only way to travel. It's the only way to move. For especially
Yeah.
for poor people. So I think like having maybe like when you have the honor system for something that people need, they're gonna take care of it, even if it's like because I
Right.
feel like when it's something that people don't really use or don't really care. I mean, for example, here in LA, everybody mostly has a car because so that's probably why it would not work because people are like,
Yeah.
man, who gives a shit? I'll just take an Uber. You know.
Yeah.
yeah, but it is. But I mean, for all these things you could take a car to, like I took it to Universal Studio. I took the subway to Universal Studios yesterday from I live in Hollywood here, and it's hugely efficient. But I know that there's such a stigma on it. Not a lot of people will do that. Everybody would rather drive the 50-minute
Well,
drive and
that's
sit in the traffic and then park their cars for $20 at Universal Studios or whatever. And
yeah, and that's
I
LA.
don't know.
That's LA in 2 sentences right there. I mean, that's
Yeah, drive
LA.
and park. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
in
Yeah.
mean,
Chicago, I had a car, but I was always like, why do I have this stupid fucking car?
yeah.
Because the train system there is fantastic.
Yeah, I grew up in Maryland, D.C., and like the train system over there is great too. I mean, I was from when I used to live in Maryland and travel to Virginia. Just take the subways. The Red Line, and they're all great. So it's here
Yeah.
that and it's so I hopefully it gets better. But I think that was definitely
It
apparently it was a car is the car industry that did it back in the 50s or
right.
something that
Yeah.
they
That's the legend.
supposedly
Yeah.
that's what I read. So
Yeah.
a
Or
homeless
that
guy
makes
told me that he was.
I almost got
Probably right.
And
while on the subway. I was on the
yeah,
subway. A homeless
he
guy
was
was
like, I used to,
you know
he was
why
like,
this thing is so empty? It's so empty because the car industry has got you guys all up there
well, he
driving
did
your
like, I
cars.
used to own the rail system in LA, while he was asking for the dollar, so
Well,
it was.
they're gonna extend it to the airport soon, so that'll be good because this is got to be the
Yeah,
busiest airport in the world that doesn't have a train system that goes to it.
Yeah.
But
Ridiculous.
but
You can get to JFK by train,
yeah,
but you can't get to LAX.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
it's funny story. When I one of the first times I went to New York and I had to take, saving flights, 7 to 3, trying to save money. I instead of taking a taxi, I took but I had to leave like at 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I was staying at my sister, and she lived in the Wall Street area. So I took the subway, and I remember taking the subway, and it was literally like a zombie movie. I remember going into like some train station, walking the stairs. There was nobody. There was like some guy, like just like some shadow going like and I'm like, and I get in the subway, and like there's like guys looking at me, and I'm holding my things. I'm going like, okay, as soon as the doors open, I'm gonna jump. Fuck. I was so tired. I didn't sleep the whole day. I couldn't sleep. I mean, I was so like. Finally, I got to like when you get to that subway that actually gets to the airport. I was like, fuck, I'm free. But I was so fucking scared. I was like, I'm not doing this shit again. I'll pay
Yeah.
20, 30 bucks, 40, 50 bucks for it next time. But
Yeah.
when you're poor, you got to do these things, especially when you're
Yeah.
starting
No kidding.
the stand up. Oh
Yeah,
man.
I'll tell you what else is it, because I took the subway down to Dodger Stadium the other day. I mean, it doesn't go to Dodger Stadium, but I got the closest stop and then walked up, which is very enjoyable. But you're walking through that huge parking lot, and I remember thinking this is such an American stadium because it's got 5 miles of parking lot around it, and you wouldn't see it any Arsenal Football Club or any kind of stadiums in Europe and stuff. The parking lots are tiny. Like tiny in comparison, and the subway just comes right up to the stadium. So it's very an interesting difference in the culture,
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, buddy, you've been an amazing guest, of course, as we knew you would
thanks,
be.
Man.
We can't thank you enough for hanging. We rifled. There's no planning as well. We just rifled from topic to topic, and I think that's killer.
I love it.
So much fun. We always have, unless Francisco. I mean, I'll throw our general.
No, I do the last. Yeah.
Yeah. So, buddy, we always have this a final question that we ask of our guests when they're on the way out the door, and not on the way out. Jesus. That's a throwback to you being a grandpa. There we go. So, we always love to ask you, unless, is this our producer saying that we got a question from somebody? We're wondering, do you have any final piece of travel advice that you'd love to pass on to people? Something that you could have been given yourself, or that you've just discovered as time has gone on? What's your favorite little bit of travel advice to hand on?
Oh man, so many things. I think the number one thing is you can always buy it there.
Oh,
yes.
Whatever it is, it's like, oh God, I forgot you can get a fucking toothbrush.
Yeah,
you can get a razor. You can get underwear. You can get socks. You can get shoes. Whatever you need that you forgot, you can get it there. So I pack light. Pack light and check your fucking bag, you jerk.
Yes, I agree with you. I started doing that, and I'm like, it's like you're free. It's like, I mean, I was gonna give an example of like having a kid and then not have, but that was like, no, that's not a good example. But I was like, but it is kind of like, once you check the bag, it's like you're free. You can just walk around. You don't have to carry something heavy, and like, yeah.
And part of that is on the airlines too, because they started charging to check the bag. So come to think of it, that's why a lot of people started carrying on. But good God, man.
But it's also like some people just bring like so much shit in there, and you're like, it's like you just came from Ross. What the fuck, It's like,
don't eat that fucking chicken salad that you bought. If we're not all eating it, don't open it in the plane, because now we're all gonna smell it. It's gross.
That's good. That's a triple hitter.
Yeah. Don't bring chicken salad.
You can buy it there.
Check your bag. Check your
eating
chicken salad.
I told you I got a million things. I'm like, bring 2 chargers.
And say that's your stand. If you ever do stand up, that's your 5-minute bits right there.
That'll be my 5 minutes. Yeah, there you go.
Just I'm going off on that shit. But yeah, no, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks,
I know you're really busy,
you
so thank you very much.
I know.
Never too busy to hang with a buddy.
You're super busy. There we go. Tweet Pods. One of our regulars is saying thank you. Pam's here too, saying thank you to you, man. And yeah, I know that it's a pleasure seeing you on my screen here. I know you're gonna be on my screen here tonight as soon as I turn that TV on.
It's up to you. But the power's in your hands, America. You can see me tonight on your TV. Just look me up.
And next season too, because your show got renewed, which is awesome.
Right.
So thank you. Yeah. So that's, and also on the Goldbergs as well, and on American Crime History, which we don't story, which you don't know which one it is. So stand by, literally. Yeah.
Awesome.
So thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dan.
Cheers, bro.